So, today I have a story for you. So, in medical school, right, I was learning, obviously, anatomy and physiology, obviously, because in med school that's what you learn and what you study. And one of the main topics of, like, in med school, in the school that I was in, every section was about one part of the human body or one system of human body, and one of them was obviously neuroanatomy or neural system, central nervous system. Yes, that's the word. I forgot about that word. And in that section of my program, we learned about brain, about spine, about how nerves work, about how the nerves differentiate between central part and the peripheral part, which is through your limbs and in your body, and the central part, or how it works in brain. It is different in spine. Anyways, that's not the point. And we learned about these things, and that's one of the hardest parts of the medical school because it is very complicated, and brain has so many sections, each having a very characteristic duty or task to carry out, and it was one of the hardest ones among my peers, but I loved it and I was quite good at it. I was very good at remembering it. But I remember one thing very clearly, which was when we were learning about the anatomy of brain, and they had this plastic thing that looked like brain, and they were showing like, yes, this part does this and this part does this, and this is prefrontal cortex. And when you see what these parts look like in real life, how big they are in real life, you kind of start to wonder what you are, because I'm sure that you heard about prefrontal cortex or just frontal cortex and how it is important for your personality, how it shapes your beliefs, it shapes your preferences, how it is, and it is also one of the biggest parts in human brain compared to other mammals. But when you see it in a real life, like in a real life thing, in a real life size, it is just this big. It's just this. This much. And one of the main teaching points of that section was how body moves and which parts of the brain are responsible for our moves. And there are two main parts. One is, I don't remember their names, but one decides what we're going to do, and the other one sends the signals to our muscles to move. And muscle contraction and muscle movements are also one of the main teaching points of that section. And each part of this system that helps you move is like this big. It is this much. It is like this. And if you think about it, if you look at someone and see their heads and how big it is and how much value we give to that brain, it is kind of it's not proportional when you see it in real world, because this was what I was thinking about. So it is this big, how I move, and this part helps me decide what I'm going to do, and this part is helping my muscles to contract on the basis of that decision. And even an athlete has the same size. It's not about the size. Everyone usually has a similar size sections, but the complexity is in a different aspect of that part. But an athlete's whole career is based on this very little part of their brains, and everyone's personality is based on this relatively small part of their brain, right? Because we have the heart. That prefrontal cortex is smaller than the heart. And it is obviously smaller than your liver, because the liver is the biggest solid organ in your body. And it is very interesting and very mind-boggling, because it was a 2-month section of my program, and in that section I started to see my friends in a very different way. It was very confusing because we would talk I would examine them somehow, without, like, unconsciously, without me realizing it, and I would see their pupils grow and, like, shrink, and I interpret their acts through this lens of brain and neurophysiology, which was very weird. It is weird because we give so much value to human behavior and human thought and human sensation, this human experience. We give so much value to this human experience, but all that is just based on an organ that is about, 3 pounds, I think, 1.5 kilograms at most, and it is just this organ. And if you section it for each task, it becomes even smaller, and it is just why, what? It's just very confusing. It was very confusing for me, at least in the section, because, like, we argue based on these sections and how they interact. We interact with people with these sections. We interact with life and the world with these sections. And when you look at them in real life, when you take a brain out or make a copy of brain somehow and, section it out, you see that it is not that big compared to what you think they would look like, you know what I mean. I hope you understand what I mean, because when we're going through our experience, I think we would imagine these sections to be bigger, but if you were to make them all bigger, they would be in total way bigger, and your head wouldn't be very functional. It would be very heavy. So because of that, your body needs to be effective somehow, and evolution pushed us down this lane, and we have to be effective. But in this effectiveness as well, we do genuine wonders, because this very small piece of flesh is capable of so much things, and it is genuinely very interesting, and it was very confusing when I first started to learn about it. If you want to, you can. It is very easy to find in Google, actually, to see the sections of brain. It wouldn't be a real life model. Maybe you wouldn't be able to compare it in its size, but you can see how these sections work. And there is a part called Broca's. Was it Broca's gyrus? It was something like Broca's area. Yes, there is a part called Broca's area, and it is responsible for your speech. And if that part is affected, in strokes and etc., you lose the capability to speak, which is a very important aspect of human experience. But it is tied to this very small part of your brain. It is tied to this very small piece of brain. I think it is this much. Broca's area is this big. Well, there is some depth to it, but it's, circumference is this, and it is like, I think it would be like a piece of sausage, a half sausage probably, and it is very interesting. Even also the limbic system, the hippocampus and all of that, and your amygdala, which is responsible for your anxiety, is a very small piece of flesh. It is, I think, this much. Amygdala is this big, but it is mainly your alarm system, so it is very powerful. And this whole thing is very, astonishing, because it is way too effective, basically, and it is way too effective to understand very, very clearly. It's not that straight to understand it, but through our experience, we somehow learn some things about brain. We're not completely done with understanding brain, especially neuroscience still works on that, but it was very astonishing. But eventually, towards the end of my, neural section of my medical program, I started to respect this piece of flesh way more, because even though it is small, and even though it doesn't look as, incredible as I thought it would be, it is just a piece of flesh that can do miracles. I think that might be a real life miracle. Your brain is a real life miracle. Humans, even though we are capable of so much things, good and bad, we are genuinely miracles on this earth, because the thing that we work on, our brain makes our decisions. Our brain is the organ that helps us make decisions, helps us move, helps us, interact with each other. And basing all those things on this small piece of flesh is incredible. And it is also incredible how evolution did that, thousands of years ago. And it is just fascinating. Being a human and learning about nervous system and your body mainly is just an incredible thing. I was very, interested in that when I was in med school. But if you really look at it, if you just read some things, if you, come across some things, it is very wonderful. It is no wonder that we should, respect our bodies and help it function as good as it can be. Because it is just wonderful, and it is simply a miracle. Truly, yeah. And today I want to talk about this because I think it is very interesting, and it is very astonishing how human body can be this effective, because when you look at a brain, it's not, very interesting at all. It is this like wiggly thing, and those wiggles help it function better. If your brain were smooth, that is an insult as well. If your brain were smooth, it wouldn't function as much. And brain compensates for its small size by increasing its surface area, because surface area is the most important thing. If it has more surface area, then it can have more neurons, and that's how it can function better, and how it can function more, how it can do more functions in a smaller area. And yeah, and evolution and human brain, human body learns how to do that as well. It is very interesting, and I love it. But I think many people should understand it more, how our bodies are these incredible machines that work very efficiently and very effectively. And this is the end point, I suppose, of my ramble for today. Thanks for listening to me. And if you like this video, you can drop a like below. You can comment your opinions down below. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more like this. Take care of yourselves. Bye.